Welcome to the UFO Woman Show. I'm your host, Melisa Kennedy. And today's guest is a returning guest and a dear friend. Her name is NATALIE Jones. She's coming back on the show from Dallas, Texas. And today we're going to talk about what we didn't get to talk about the last time, and that is her paranormal investigations. So, hey, NATALIE, how are you?
Hey, how's it going today?
Oh,
Thank
awesome.
you for having me back.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. I'm very happy to have you back on. And you are a well-known paranormal investigator. You have done many, many cases, I know. But today we actually get to talk about it because last time we got all caught up in universal consciousness and UFOs and
Well, there's so much to talk about, right?
There is. I know there's a lot to talk about. And we might even still touch a little bit on that because you and I like that stuff. But I really want to talk about paranormal stuff today and what you've been doing with your investigations. I know you've even shared a couple of videos that we'll play here in a few minutes. But first of all, I really want to know, why did you start getting into paranormal investigating?
Well, yeah. So the paranormal is, it's a great field and it's a great area. There's so much that we don't know, which we did talk about last time. We did ice over that. And so you and I both know that what science deems explainable, it's coming around to starting to try to explain some of these unexplainable unseen forces. And throughout the course, of my lifetime, and I know the last time that you had me on, we did speak a lot about my book, Awaken the Higher Self, Bringing Darkness to Light.
Yes.
So for those of you who have not seen that episode, please go back and watch that episode, because what we're going to be delving into today is going to touch a lot deeper into what we didn't get to touch on last time. And a part of that I did go and touch into lightly as well was an experience that I had as a childhood. And again, I believe that we all have a childhood memory that's a direct indication of who we are to become as an adult. Though we do not have that conscious memory, we look back and you have that aha moment.
Right.
So for me, and like I told you last time, this is something that definitely chose me. I didn't wake up one day and say, I'm going to go and become a paranormal investigator.
Right. I don't think I did either.
Yeah.
So,
but here I am. I am on the right path. This is my soul mission. I have a passion for it. I have a passion for helping others who are experiencing some very, unspeakable things that are just a part of the whole picture. And so I have continued to shed light on this subject, and I continue to, as I told you last time, I came up with the term paranormal navigator.
Paranormal navigator, that's the best.
It's more than just being an investigator, and then you're a researcher. And so as I continue to research the field, there's so many different areas. It's not just what you would think when you think of the word paranormal, spirits and demons and devils. There's so many different layers. And I go into a lot of detail in the book as well.
Yes, you do. Your book is great about that.
Yeah, I'm really grateful and humbled that you have me back to talk about a little bit more of this stuff.
Absolutely. Well, your book launches this week, right?
Yes.
Yes, it's on sale. BMK Publishing, which is my publishing company, is proud to publish your book, and I'm very excited to be a part of that. And you have a lot of things going on. You have some book signings coming up. I know you're coming to UFO Con here in Orlando, and that's going to be fantastic in and of itself, and to have you a part of that. And you have a couple other things going on too, right?
Right. So I am so excited to come to the UFO Con and be a part of all of that. I head out to the Science of Consciousness conference after that as a part of my research in the field. I will be going through and networking and really delving deeper into that area that we did discuss the last time I was on the show. Consciousness is a really big part of all of this. So, and then after that, I will be headed to, in July, I'll be headed to San Diego, and then in October I'll be headed to Minnesota to a Paracon and a Para-Unity to speak on consciousness, and then to also continue this book tour. I'm so excited to meet new people and do book signings and all of that. So it's going to be a great year.
It really is. It really is. And I know that our paths are going to cross more than once just at UFOCon. I know that we'll probably be doing some events and things together in the future. So that's really exciting. And your book is fantastic. Of course, I've read it all the way through, actually almost twice. And I know, yay.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. And for me, it's just another confirmation of what I've already known and believed. And it's just nice to see somebody else actually share the same common thoughts and ideas and experiences. And you touched on something a few minutes ago. You talked about how, as a child or just at different stages in our life, we have these experiences that kind of give us that lead to our career path or lead us to, what our destiny is. And for sure, I've had many of those times in my life that have led me to where I am now. And, you mentioned your childhood. I don't think we even talked about that last time, did we? That you had an experience. You want to tell us about that now, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I will touch lightly on it, and I'll leave a little bit of suspense for those who say, "Ooh, man, I got to go out and buy that book and see what this is all about." No. So listen, the knowledge in this book, it truly comes from a higher place. Some of it, honestly, it's almost as if I can't take credit for it, because while I was writing this, it was almost as if this information was just downloaded. Mm-hmm. And so I am humbled and I am grateful that I am able to bring forth this type of information it's meant to truly help people on a mass scale.
Right.
And it's not just about the paranormal. We all deal with some sort of negative or dark influence in our life. And so that's why I wrote this book. So in the beginning of the book, I do go into an experience that I had as a child. And basically what happened was I was I believe about 5 or 6, no more than 7. I had gone to bed, and the person who I shared a room with at that time, we had like a trundle type bed, and I awoke, I thought that I was awake, to Satan standing in the doorway of my bedroom.
Oh gosh.
And people will say, well, how did you know it was him? You just know. It's one of those moments where you have a complete understanding on a spiritual level of what is truly going on around you. And so he stood there in his true form, and he just laughed at me. And there was a clear film between myself and him in the doorway. And I understood that to be a layer of protection. So basically, after that, I awoke to my mom hovering over me frantically. She was very upset, scared, crying. And the account of everyone else who was there, which was a total of 3 people, the person who I was sharing a room with at the time, and then also my stepdad, he gives the account that they were woken up to the person who was with me in the bedroom screaming. They both came down the hallway, and all they could feel was just the depths of fear. He could not bring himself to come down the hallway because the dark presence was so strong. Mm-hmm. Of course, my mom pushed through, and she had no choice. And as she picked me up, they all could hear me speaking in an unknown language. They could hear me speaking in tongue.
Wow. Very
clearly. Of course, I only know English up to this day. Well, I mean, I do now know a little bit of Spanish. But yes, so I was speaking in a foreign unknown tongue very rapidly. And as I awoke, I just remember feeling very scared.
Yeah, naturally.
And so I started crying.
Right.
And for years, I pushed that experience away. I did. I pushed that experience away because, you're not going to walk around to people and start talking about it.
No, they'll look at you like you're crazy. So,
yes.
No, I get that.
Yes. So now, as I have gone through the years and gone through what I would call a spiritual awakening, I'd found the answer to exactly why I had that experience, which was that he was trying to instill in me at the moment he knew I would have a conscious memory,
Right.
the type of fear that would deviate me from my soul mission and my life purpose.
And now, right, and now you've got that experience to draw upon as you help others. And, I myself have gone through a spiritual awakening, so I can completely relate. I know exactly what you're talking about. And you even touched on, the word downloads. Well, for our audience that's not familiar with what downloads are, it's not just, specific to Natalie and I. I mean, downloads are actually happening for every single person. Downloads is when you get information from the universe and downloaded, either, you're conscious about it or you're not conscious about it, but we're all getting downloads from the universal consciousness. And some of us are a little more aware of it than others. Certainly, I know that you were aware when you were writing your book, and that's the exact same thing that happened to me. When I wrote my book in November 2018, it was like I was writing it, but it wasn't really, me that was giving all this information. And what's really interesting is now it's come into fruition that a lot of what I wrote about in my book is actually happening. So it's amazing. It really is amazing once you tap into that. Yes, phenomenal. It really is. It really is. And I love, you and I could talk for hours, Natalie, about the whole universal consciousness and all of the stuff about downloading and things. And the paranormal investigating, that's another thing that you and I have in common. And I can say for myself, the reason why I got into paranormal investigating, not that I had anything as scary as what you had happen, but I have had some unexplainable things in my life. I am Rh negative. That's my blood type. And if you don't know what Rh negative is, that's the rhesus protein that's only found in about 8% of the world's population. And it's very different. We are, supposed to be more psychic, more intuitive with our abilities and things like that. And I've really had a lifelong connection, if you will, to the unexplained, to the mysterious. And I've always just had this yearning to learn more. And so as I started to dive into ufology, and I've taken all these course hours in ufology, I also piggyback that on the paranormal, because they really go hand in hand. It really is. There's some differences, yes, but it's kind of all the same thing. And for me, as an educator, as a former school teacher, for me, it was educating the public and getting them to really understand that, this isn't all scary. It's scary when you don't have the knowledge. That's when it's scary. But when you realize what it is that maybe you're encountering, or you're seeing, maybe you think it's a haunted house, or whatever it is. When you start to understand what these things are, it becomes a whole lot less fearful. For me it is.
Right.
I'm not going to say that there is at times I get a little spooked out, because there is, but
yeah. I completely relate.
Right.
So it's, for me, and I explain this, it's as if it's a part of my spiritual DNA, my DNA,
yes,
who I am.
Yes, same
I'm a
here.
Warrior.
Are you Rh negative too? I got to ask, what's your blood type?
I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, you don't know for sure? You're not sure if you are? Do you not know your blood type, or?
I like to stay away from all of that stuff.
Okay. Well, no, I hear you on that. Listen, I will not do a DNA test or anything like that.
I like to remain mysterious.
So, yes, amen to that. I'm mysterious too. So
yeah, amen.
It's all good.
So, I'll just tell you, I just know. So
yeah, you just know. You're an Rh negative girl. I can already tell. I think I've probably known that for a while. Just intuitively, I knew that.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's talk a little bit about your investigations. I know you've sent some videos. Are they 3 separate investigations, or?
So I will let you know that the 3 videos that you are about to watch, they are all set at the Haunted Hill House, which is in Mineral Wells, Texas.
Okay, so same place.
Yes.
Same location.
I was there. This is a recent investigation. I was there in December of 2019, and I was there with Veil of Shadows, formerly Concho Valley Paranormal, and I was there with the lead investigator, Dylan Lane, who I routinely collaborate with. He's phenomenal.
Okay.
And so we were at the Haunted Hill House, and a little bit of background about that. It's right next to the Baker Hotel, which is also reportedly haunted, though I have not investigated it's currently shut down. It's in process of being renovated and all of that.
Oh, and that's going to stir up all kinds of activity.
Exactly. So there's no access to the public. But it goes all the way, dates back to the late 1800s, and there are underground tunnels that connect the two properties. And so one of the original founding families of Mineral Wells actually built the Hill House. And at one point, it was a makeshift hospital for the Civil War. At one point, it was a brothel where, those who would stay at the Baker Hotel who had a little bit of higher status, they would travel the underground tunnels to go unseen and undetected in order to go have their fun. And this was during the Prohibition and all of that. So during that time is where this part is focused on.
Gotcha.
Because there's a story that a man who lived in this house named Willie, one of the brothel women was actually his niece, and her name was Elizabeth. Well, he had ended up impregnating her, and they had a child together named Joshua, who was born somewhat disfigured, and they would keep him upstairs and keep him isolated.
Oh, boy.
And yes, one night he came down the stairs. Willie, the rumor and the story is, which has now been somewhat substantiated from my experience, was that Willie became infuriated and he went upstairs. He ended up murdering the little boy Joshua in his room. The mother was trying to stop him, and she was coming up the stairs, and he turned around and he shot her on the stairs. So he had murdered both of them. It was very horrible.
Oh my gosh!
See, and yes. So to set that up with these videos that you're about to see, the first one is a video of a child apparition that we caught. This was actually unbeknownst to us, because as we were going through and doing the walkthrough with the owner of the Hill House, Catherine Estes, we came back, and before we went upstairs to start a preliminary investigation with the other owner, Sonny, he's the other owner of the Haunted Hill House, we came across a child apparition. We started going through some of the footage from a stationary camera, and you will see in Joshua's room what looks to be the apparition of a child walk across. And then shortly after that, we went upstairs into that room, and as Sonny was giving us a little bit more of the history and talking a little bit more about Joshua, he became physically affected. And that's the second video. And then in the third video, then that's when we started asking questions on the digital recorder, and we actually were able to get a Class A EVP from Joshua. And for those who don't know what an EVP is, it's electronic voice phenomena. So you can clearly hear the voice of a little boy come through on the recording after we played it back on video, and he says, "It hurts, I can't move."
Oh my gosh, you just gave me goosebumps. Wow.
I got very emotional.
Yeah.
I started crying. In this video clip, you will not see me cry, but you can go to the Ghost Hunter Girls YouTube and watch the full episode of the Haunted Hill House.
Okay, so do you think we should roll all three videos in a row consecutively? Is that what you're wanting us to do, Natalie?
Yeah, you can roll the first one, and I can make a quick little comment, and we can do the second one, and I can comment a little bit too as well if you have any questions about it.
All right, cool. Let's cue up that video now. Let's do the first one.
Okay, so this is a video of a Spider-Man toy earlier today, a blow-up Spider-Man. From the left, you can see now an apparition, legs starting to walk across.
You see, go right through the chair too.
Went right through the chair. The legs are now in the middle of the screen. You can see the apparition of the child, and then the Spider-Man toy falls.
Oh, right. You can see
and they're still walking.
Wow, that's amazing.
Explain to us what we were seeing there in that video.
Yes, so that is the video of the child apparition. There were no light sources that could have caused that in that room. And as you can see, what makes it even more credible is that it's very consistent and it goes very slowly in a walking motion across the entire room. And then right when it gets to the very right side of that blow up Spider-Man, you can see that it falls.
Yeah.
So we've gone through and reviewed that in depth and have determined that what we believe to be the apparition of a child.
Oh, that was cool. All right, so now take us into the second video. What's the second video going to be?
Yes, so this next video is after we saw that apparition of the child walking across, we went directly upstairs into that room and we started to do a preliminary investigation, including an interview with the other owner of the home. His name is Sonny, and he began to explain to us a little bit more about the history of Joshua himself. As you can see in this next video, while he was in the course of doing so, he became physically affected. He started getting the chills, and so I went over and I started to, my paranormal investigator kicked in, and I went over and started to check it out. So
yeah, okay, cool. Let's cue that second video up then.
I think that they kept him back there for a couple of reasons. They kept him back there because they didn't want him to see everything that was going on with the prostitution, and also because he was different. Ooh, something's on me right now. I'm sorry. Joshua.
Mind if we run a little EVP session real quick?
Oh wow! I mean, you've got full
He's
chills.
all over me. Whew.
Oh yeah.
It's freezing. Feel this cold spot. Freezing right here. Feel how cold it is right in here.
Recorder.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, you can definitely see how he was getting the goosebumps and everything.
yes. So when I put my hands around him, I mean, it was almost as if there was at least a 10-degree drop in temperature just in that one spot.
Wow.
And for those who are unfamiliar with the paranormal and paranormal investigations, the indication of a cold spot like that does indicate the presence of some unseen force or unseen interdimensional presence.
Right. Did you have an EMF reader with you? I was curious. Did it have a reading? Did you have an EMF reader or not with you?
So, yes.
Okay.
You're echoey, sorry.
Oh.
I didn't hear the question.
Oh, I was just asking you, was the EMF reader, did you have an EMF reader with you during that time?
Yes. So we actually did pull out the EMF, and it did indicate a drop in temperature.
Okay.
The way that these cold spots work, also with spirits, you can see this in the episode, is that the cold spot will be there and then it's gone. Mm-hmm. So sometimes by the time you pull out that EMF reader, sometimes you catch it, sometimes you don't. But that's also why we get these collaborating pieces of evidence, which you're about to see in the third video. We immediately brought out the digital recorder to see if we could communicate and get some solid Class A responses, which we did.
Oh, awesome.
And I knew if I asked him, you need to talk to us, please say something, that if I let him know that, then he would respond, and that's exactly what happened.
All right.
So this next video that you're about to see is right after we detected that cold spot and the indication of a presence.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Let's cue that last video up then.
Talk to us on this digital recorder so we can hear you.
I can't move.
I thought it said it hurts.
I hurt.
It hurts.
It hurts.
I can't move.
Okay, I can't move.
What Willie is, because Willie killed him up here.
It hurts. I can't move.
Wow. I'm sorry, Joshua.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you guys had a lot of activity going on at this place.
Right. So that's one of the things that's really important to me as a paranormal investigator, is finding that concrete evidence, that substantiating evidence, that you don't just have one specific thing that may indicate, but when you have multiple pieces of evidence like that corroborate each other,
Right.
that it gives it that understanding and that credibility, and they're communicating as well, and they want to be heard, especially when you go through a traumatic experience like that and you're murdered.
Yeah.
A lot of these spirits,
Well, they get trapped.
Yes, they're trapped. Even innocent spirits like a child, it's that negativity, or therefore dark energy, it's dark in nature, that keeps them trapped, earthbound in the spiritual plane here in the third dimension. And once they have the information that they need to understand where they may be confused or what have you, then they're able to understand what they need to do to release that and move on. So it's quite an emotional experience, and as you can see in the video, I became quite emotional. The owner became emotional, and it was just that aha moment. There he is, and I just got the chills again. There he is. This is what he's saying. It hurts. I can't move.
Oh, my gosh.
You know?
Yeah, I feel like I'm actually reliving that with you right now.
Yes.
Yes, oh, wow. Okay. Sorry, I had to take a deep breath there. That's emotional.
Yeah.
And okay, so if you are new to paranormal and you're watching this program, what we're talking about is spirits or entities kind of getting trapped where their life ended. And that happens a lot because, maybe something traumatic happened, such as a murder or, an untimely death, if you will. And so a lot of times when you encounter something that is of a negative entity or something like that, it may not necessarily be there to do you harm, but it could just be that it's upset, it's confused, it hasn't moved on, it hasn't passed on, and so it's trapped. It's trapped right here on Earth, and it's probably the cause of more, paranormal activity than anything. Would you agree with that, Natalie?
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And there's those spirits that are trapped. There's also evil spirits.
Yes, well, there's those too.
Yes,
Yeah.
that are trapped. Can cause problems just as much as what we would call a devil or a demon or a dark being.
Well, and they feed off of us. I call them vampires. They're like little energy vampires, and they kind of latch on to us, and that's really their source of energy. And I know this has probably happened to you 1,000 times, as it's happened to me. A lot of times our equipment will get drained during an investigation. Why? Not because the batteries are going dead, but because the paranormal entity, whatever the entity is actually using that as a power source.
Yes, I actually have that specific incident that you're speaking about on film as well. On the Ghost Hunter Girls YouTube, there's an episode called Mr.
Oh.
And at the beginning of that episode, I was about to give a blessing to the daughter, and right before that happened, and without going into the long drawn out story, because you definitely should go check it out, it will make sense, but basically there's an evil male presence and before we started the blessing, the battery in the camera completely drained out.
Oh.
It was almost as if he was saying, nope, not happening right now. I don't like this.
Not today.
So that's very common. And I do explain that as well on film, why that happened and exactly what's going on. Because a part of all of this as well, and what we do and our abilities, for me, I'm very clairsentient, which helps on cases. And what that means is that I can feel the emotions and the thoughts of people, and also those spirits that are present as well, even from long distances. So if I'm on the phone with a new client, I will be completely level, solid, and then all of a sudden I start feeling something very intense, and these are not my own, and I understand it, and I let it in, and then I start speaking to them about it, and they'll say, wow, yes, that's phenomenal. That's what the way that you described is exactly to a T how I've been feeling. And so I always like to have that turned on and in motion whenever I'm on these investigations, because it truly does help to understand what's really going on, and not only help those that are experiencing the paranormal activity, specifically in the residential cases that I have a major passion for.
Right.
And also those spirits or other interdimensional beings that are causing the activity and any type of chaos or havoc at that property.
Right.
So,
no, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
So if you're out there and you're watching this program right now and this stuff sounds so cool, you're like, oh man, I want to dive into the whole paranormal investigating. You're in luck because we have a brand new show coming right here to WeBeam TV. It's called Parageeks, and I would like to debut, the trailer for everybody to watch right now because I think it's kind of a good time to break into that and give everybody a little sneak peek as to what our new show Parageeks is going to be all about. All right, so there's a little sneak preview of a new show, Parageeks. I'm going to be a part of that as one of the lead investigators, and so it'll be really cool. We're going to be doing lots of stuff here in Florida, so definitely be looking for that here in the coming weeks because it will be really, really good, and it's going to really dive into what we're talking about here today with NATALIE Jones, who's coming to us from Dallas, and she's part of the Ghost Hunter Girls, which is a really cool paranormal team, and she's also an author, and I can't wait to get her to UFO Con here in April in Orlando. So that's going to be super cool. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to touch back again just for a second, NATALIE, to what your childhood experience has done and what your probably the most memorable paranormal case you've ever done. Is it maybe the one we just saw in the video, or have you had some other ones that kind of trump that?
Yeah, so with the childhood experience and then coming over through the years to understand exactly what that meant and why it happened, because it wasn't just a random event. And so what I've understood is that he was trying to deviate me from, instill that type of fear that would deviate me from basically depleting his army, sending those fallen angels back to the light, and then also, helping those who he's continues to try to wreak havoc on. And with that said, one of the most memorable cases that I have had is actually a residential case. And what you just saw is a investigation at an actual location. I love going to different locations and investigating and corroborating and understanding what's really going on and bringing a full picture to the owners at those locations, and then also to those other investigators in the field who are very curious about those different locations. And with residential cases, they are very different because these individuals did not ask for, this type of activity to be going on. They're usually scared. They're any type of emotion where the root pattern is fear, where it be confusion or what have you, and they don't know how to understand and explain the unseen or the unexplainable, where this is not what we're used to. And so they finally start to realize that maybe this is real. And so they'll find a paranormal investigator, a professional that knows what they're doing. In this case, I have come into quite a number of different residential cases. There's all one underlying unifying factor that comes into all of these. And there is a traumatic experience or a traumatic event that occurred right around the time that the activity started that caused that person and their spirit to fragment. And what happens when the spirit fragments is that there's these spiritual streamers that come off the fragments, like we kind of touched on last time. And that's where this these interdimensional beings or the dark energy will latch on. Now, look, for those of you out there, okay, let's make it very, very straightforward. And this is the way that I explain it in Awaken the Higher Self, bringing darkness to the light. You have the light force, you have the dark force, and there must be opposition in all things. Doesn't mean it's good or it's bad, it just is. We need that opposition and that duality in order to attain the type of growth that we need. So those individuals, when I come in and they're experiencing this paranormal activity, I immediately get down to the bottom of when did this activity start and what is really going on here. Because I do set apart my own oil. I do my own blessings. I hold the Melchizedek priesthood, and I'm very protected. So I have the capability to truly go in and fix and rid whatever is going on. And so once I do that, then that's when the real process to heal from within has to begin, so that nothing else can return to wreak that type of havoc. Because the reason that it's able to is because of the darkness that fills their soul, or the spirit fragmentation. And so I work with that person as a dark energy healing facilitator once I have dealt with the spirits and the interdimensional beings on the property. Then that process must occur as well.
Right.
Or 6 months later, they may be experiencing something different with something else. And that's quite common as well.
Well, you have to have the dark side and the light side, which kind of sounds like Star Wars. I mean, you know, that movie actually has a lot of things that are that are in play here.
A real life lightsaber.
I know.
Honestly.
Yes, give me a lightsaber. You know what? Mine has to be made of crystals, though. I'm just saying, mine's got to have crystals on it, and yeah, I'm all about that.
Would be amazing.
Well, we have to raise our frequency. We have to raise, you know, our awareness as to what the universe is bringing us. We have to download this information, we have to process it, and then we have to do good with it. And I think that's certainly something that you're doing very well, Natalie. You're doing a great job with, you know, getting the word out there, sharing your experiences, helping others. I mean, that's what all of this is about. I think that's what we're all trying to do, is raise awareness, aren't we?
Sure, yes. And a part of the process on these residential cases as well is we touched slightly, which we didn't get to go into detail last time. There's 4 types of dark energy. There's a general dark influence, which is what most of us experience from day to day, whether it's anxiety, depression, lack of motivation, feeling fatigued.
Right.
That is lower vibrational energy.
Yes, it's way down there.
Yeah.
Right.
which means that there's some sort of dark influence around you.
Right.
So though you may not think, oh, I have a dark influence, but that's exactly what that is. So when we're able to recognize that, then we can start to go through the process to eliminate that. The second type of dark influence would be an attachment. And that occurs when you do have that spirit fragmentation, and the dark influence can turn to even more of what we would call an attachment. And in those cases, you may start to experience paranormal activity, have nightmares, very lucid nightmares, paranormal activity, poltergeist activity. The list goes on. The third type of dark influence would be possession.
Right.
That is when the attachment becomes so severe that the person begins to experience possession. And the fourth type of influence would be a walk-in, and that is a momentary loss of sight, ability, hearing, where you may fall over, and a spirit or some sort of interdimensional being has somewhat of a control over the physical body and the spirit, and that can be very alarming. I personally have never had a walk-in happen to me.
I was going to ask you. I was like, have you... You know, and it's funny because as you're talking, I was sitting here thinking, well, yeah, it could also be interdimensional, and then you said interdimensional. So
Yes.
I don't know. We're connecting here, but yeah, I can see that. And here's one of the things that we can tell our audience that will help with if any of these things are happening to you or someone that you know, Reiki, we're both certified in Reiki. We both practice Reiki on a regular basis. That is one modality that you could use to help, deal with this negative entities and things like that, attachments and stuff. I mean, that's something that I think we could point out, don't you? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is a part of why I wrote this book in self-therapy format. Because in these residential cases and through the process to help those heal from within so that they can have their own awakening.
Right.
Now, it's more than just clearing out the darkness and unifying the mind, body, and soul. It is about that awakening, because that's going to be a natural byproduct of going through these steps, and it's a beautiful thing.
And get your chakras all lined up, and
Yes. So, and I, in part of the book, I go through exactly, as you said, with the Reiki, and making sure that the chakras are aligned and the aura is balanced. It helps
absolutely.
it helps to keep and maintain, because this is a lifestyle.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's part of my daily life. So
nothing in life is, snap your fingers and you're good to go.
Yes,
You've
I
got
agree.
to continue the work every day and
build on it, and then build on it, and then you're going to get progress, and then you're going to you're going to reach that next level, and then you're going to reach the next level. And I got certified in Reiki, 25 years ago, a long time ago, and I didn't do a whole lot with it at first. I just kind of let it just be there. And I wanted to get into it, but then life got in the way and I kind of steered away from it, unfortunately. But it's back in my life 100%, which is fantastic. And, from that, I've been building on, my crystal work and Tai Chi and Qigong and all this other stuff, yoga, meditation. And I know you do that, don't you? You do that every
all
day.
of it. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. It's amazing.
I did it this morning. Did you do it this morning?
I did my yoga at 5 p.m. last night.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yes. I had to get my yoga in before our interview, so.
Yes. Well, I did mine about 7 o'clock, but I did my Tai Chi and Qigong.
Well, that was at the same time, because I believe you're about an hour or two ahead of me. So.
Right. Yeah. Maybe we were doing it at the same time. That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those are the 4 types of dark influence and possession. One of my residential cases that involved possession was very interesting. I went through the process with this client, and a part of what I go into in self-therapy format in the book is kinesiology. What I do is I implement the kinesiology in order to bypass the human conscious and allow us to communicate directly with the spirit. Because when we do that, then we're able to get truthful answers about what's really going on in our health and our well-being, and the unseen forces that are there, what type they are, how many. So during the course of this residential investigation, I did implement kinesiology with my client. We were able to determine that she had 4 attachments. They were all devil attachments.
4? She had 4?
4 devil attachments.
Wow.
So I said, okay, well, let's go. And this is
roll up your sleeves. Here we go, right?
This is where I'm really in my zone and in my element. And I actually do have the video on the Ghost Hunter Girls YouTube as well. You can go back and take a look at it. So I started to speak directly with these devils. But before they came through, guess who decided to rear his ugly head?
No.
Yeah.
Came back to visit you.
Yeah, I told him I did not fear him at all. That I know that he actually fears me. And I said, look at me. And after the episode was all done, I had cleared all of these attachments out. She did tell me that she was not in control, though she could see what was going on, and he could not open his eyes to look at me because the light was so bright. And I said, Satan, look at me. And I said to him, I will not stop until I send all of your army to the light.
Wow.
He laughed at me and he said, it's okay, I'll just get more. And what he's referring to is those of us who have a body, and he's trying to capture our souls.
Challenge accepted.
Such a big passion of mine. I will not stop. I'm in full-on battle. I've been in full-on battle with him many lifetimes, I'm sure.
Yes.
And now in this lifetime, I'm really starting to go full force on it. So what we did was I continued on, and I sent the remaining of those devil attachments to the light. This may be very unusual to some people, I understand, but I do in my book as well go into how and why this works. And once we completed that, during the process and the very end of that, one came through and you could audibly hear it speaking through her, and it said,
wow.
"Why are you doing this?" And I looked at it and I said, "Because you will suffer no longer."
That's
is what I
great.
said.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
it was just a really, even to this day, I get emotional.
Yeah, I'm getting
about it.
teary-eyed. Actually, I got like a little tear here in my left eye. Okay.
It was a really neat experience.
Yeah. Oh my
And
gosh.
Then they were once I had helped it go and she came to, then it was a really neat experience at that point, and I've been able to have some healing sessions as a dark energy healing facilitator with her. And it's about giving people the tools and the knowledge that they need to take charge of their own free will, because most times really it's the lack of knowledge or understanding.
It is.
But then once the light goes on and dings, then everyone's
Right.
like, yeah, I'm on
I
board.
get
Let's
it now.
do this.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Well,
yeah.
you mentioned your ghost hunter girls, and I love I love that. Of course, I'm a ghost hunter fan. Love Grant Wilson. He's coming to UFO Con, and you started this group called Ghost Hunter Girls. Are you the founder?
I am.
Okay,
I am.
so
I
tell
am
me
the founder
how
of
did it
Ghost
get
Hunter
started?
Girls.
How did it get started? When did it get started? Who's on your team? What does each one do? Do you have a psychic medium on your team? I'm just curious. I don't know that our audience knows this yet. So let's share with them what it is that you guys do.
Absolutely. And so you can also go to the ghosthuntergirls.com to read more about the team. I founded Ghost Hunter Girls approximately 3 years ago. This is a third year of actually a formed team.
Okay.
Now, this is something that I've been doing for a while. It's cultivated. It's a passion. It's been a process of my studies. At some point, you form those people around you, your soul tribe that you know are going to be there to the very end to accomplish the type of work that needs to be done. Now, also with that said, throughout the course of this amazing journey, I've met even more people that though they may not be on the Ghost Hunter Girls team, I still work with them in this capacity, and I will continue to do work. I have other projects that are independent of Ghost Hunter Girls that I'm, in process of working on now. And so it's just a beautiful journey, and so many doors are opening, and I'm just truly grateful and humbled by all of it, because it continues through all of this opposition, because trust me, someone's not happy. And I get a lot of opposition.
Oh, I know. Listen, same here. Same here.
It is a daily.
Yeah.
I've got to be on point and minding my P's and Q's, let me tell you.
Yes, we do. We both do. And it's because
joke.
we have such light coming out of us. Our aura and everything else is so bright that, we're constantly being attacked. I know I am. So I'm right there with you. And my Soul Searchers team, I have like 3 or 4 people on my team. And we've done an investigation at the bookstore. I've gone out. I've done some at cemeteries, just different places. And it's always amazing to me how each single, investigation has its own memorable event that happens, whether it's a child that maybe you've connected with, because I've had that happen. I went to a haunted, one of the bars in Orlando has quite a haunting history, and a little boy and a little girl actually died there in a fire. And during my investigation, the little girl was actually attaching onto me. She was holding on to me, and I just literally started bawling. I mean, I was crying. I could feel, and she was like, I miss my parents. I mean, oh my gosh, it was so emotional. So I do understand what you're talking about. And as paranormal investigators, we have to prepare ourselves, emotionally and mentally, sometimes even physically, to take this stuff on.
Yes, and when those emotional bouts and we're physically affected, it's like going from point A to point Z, and that's
all the way.
You know that it's not emotions of your own.
Right. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not a crier.
In a different zone, and then all of a sudden. So I love the Haunted Hill House. One of my other favorite haunted locations to investigate at, is the Old Park Hotel in Ballinger, Texas. I just love Dan and Connie LaFave, and they have always been so welcoming. I've been there 4 times now.
Oh, wow.
But it is
That's a lot.
Well, there is a long history. Each room honestly needs its own in-depth paranormal investigation.
I want to come. I want to come.
Yes.
I want to come do an investigation with you there. That sounds cool.
Yes. Well, I would love for you to come investigate with me
Yeah.
and do an investigation in the yellow room. So this last time that I went, which was a couple of weeks ago, a little bit of backstory on it. I had been there once before, and there's this room. I call it the yellow room, and there's this closet next to a bathroom. And the first time that I had been there, I was standing in that closet. I just felt drawn to it. And there's another video on the Ghost Hunter Girls YouTube that actually shows this. And I got very emotional, and then I became a little bit I confused, honestly. And I just started walking towards the bathroom and then trying to get, like I was opening a window to try to get out, even though you can't open the window.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? This is so odd. And it's like there's a presence in that room that does not want whatever happened there to be uncovered. A lot of other things have happened that substantiate that is actually going to be coming out in the upcoming episode that I have coming out from this past weekend. But while I was there, I had the wonderful J.W. Prather. He's the builder, founder, and owner of IDC Devices. You can go and check him out. But he has built a custom Spectrum box, which took him about a year to build. And it's got every single bell and whistle on it that you could possibly ever want as a paranormal investigator.
Oh, I'm interested. Sign me up. I want one.
Yes. So
that's cool.
He had it with him, and we were up in the yellow room, and I went back and I stood in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
But before I did that, we had the video going, and we had the voice box going, and a voice came through and said my name, Natalie.
Oh, no.
And then it was a male voice, and I knew who it was because of who I had encountered before. And I said, is your name Walter? Are you the person that affected me before? I said, I feel like you are stuck. I feel that you have done something that you feel guilty about, and you're sad, and you're confused, and you're still angry. I said, I told him all of these things, and then he said, go, and then back, like go back to that spot in the closet. So I went back and I stood in that spot in the closet, and this is all on film. And just like you said, all of a sudden I got down on my knees and I just started bawling, and I told everyone in the room, I said, something really horrible has happened here.
Yeah, it allowed you to feel it. I mean,
Yes.
you felt that. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yes, it was a traumatic death,
Oh,
murder.
yes.
Yes, and possible suicide. But look, you say these things, you've got to have some type of understanding and evidence to substantiate it. So that is a possible scenario. All I know is that I felt the emotions now twice, and there's other evidence that we gathered the first time around with the paranormal puck and with the ovilus that both kind of gave that corroborating understanding. So it's still a rabbit hole, and there's still a lot of layers to understand in that room. And so that's why I want to go back and see if I can truly get enough information and evidence combined with all of that to maybe start really piecing the puzzles together of what happened. That's important to me.
Well, and let's not, throw away the fact that you and I can't cry on demand. I mean, it's not like,
I really can't.
if I was that good, I'd be in Hollywood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, things do, empathize. I think we're both definitely empaths for sure, and we're definitely sensitive to this. So when you get something like this occur when you're doing an investigation, I mean, it's not like we're going to say, okay, at 10:59, we're going to cry in the closet. No, that doesn't work like that. At least not with you and me. I mean, maybe they do that in some shows, but not here. So this is great. I think this is a really good lead in to what we're doing here at WeBeam TV, which is a new paranormal investigating show. It's called Parageeks, so you definitely want to stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, I want everyone to go and check out Natalie's website, which is really good. It's got the Ghost Hunter Girl stuff on there, and then her own personal website. You can order her book, which is going to be out this week. You have pre-orders going on right now, and then you can also find your book on your site, right? And
Yes.
on the BMK Publishing USA.com and on Amazon. So there's lots of different places you can get her book. She's going to be at UFO Con in April 11th and 12th. And that's more information on that's at theufocon.com. And, we're just so happy that you took the time again to come and talk to us here today. And your investigating is really cool. I can't wait to hopefully maybe do an investigation with you at some point, because I think that would be really
will,
neat.
Of course.
Really,
Yes.
really cool.
Probably at the Old Park Hotel now that we've put that out there.
We put it out in the universe. So
yes, and
very
if you'd
cool.
like to learn more about me specifically, and it has the links to all of my other websites and social media, just head over to NatalieJones.com.
Very cool. Well, and that's a great website. I've actually been on both of your websites, and they're both really cool. Plus, you're on social media, so go look her up, Ghost Hunter Girl. She's on all the social media. I'm on social media, The UFO Woman. You can find both of us if you want to check us out. You're also going to be checking out the new show, Parageeks, which will be coming soon. But until next time, I'm your host, Melisa Kennedy, and I want all of you to keep looking up.